All right, guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're gonna dare to talk about the LA animation industry again. How very dare we?
I'm sure there'll be a bunch of videos made about us.
How dare we? How dare we? We don't have the right. Yeah, we're gonna talk about what other people working currently or attempting to work in the animation industry are saying on Reddit. And it's not good. They're all talking about how there are no jobs. And some of them are saying that the union deal wasn't very good. And a lot of them are echoing things that we've said.
Oh, no, they can't. We had higher ups, the big deals in the animation saying the same things we said, and they were still pissed about it. So
it doesn't matter. But basically what is going on here, I believe, is that we have a lot of younger animation people, aspiring animators who are angry, upset, frustrated that they went to school for this, and it turns out that the industry is actually contracting right now.
Well, I get that, and I understand that, and I'd be upset too, because it's not cheap, especially if you go to places like SCAD. Not cheap. So
Scam.
I mean, yeah, scam, right?
Scam.
I don't blame people for being upset about it, because I'd be like, holy crap too. But the flip side is, if you've been paying attention for a period of time, you knew it was coming, because back in the pandemic, they waited until after the pandemic was almost over to turn the animation money on, because they're like, oh, because animation saved us during the pandemic. Yeah. And I remember doing a video then and saying, wasn't it kind of late to do this now? And because they did that and they put all this money into it, people weren't home watching it all day like they were before, and it didn't go anywhere.
No.
And it's too expensive. And then there's too much stuff.
So let's talk about this. This is kind of a post-mortem, I think, to the union contract ratification, which the people that are left are going to get more money, and they're going to get Juneteenth off, I guess. But they're not getting really many protections at all against AI and outsourcing, and those are the biggest concerns. So it feels to me like the showrunners just kind of gave themselves a raise, and then everybody else just going to have to fend for yourselves, I guess. But it's interesting to actually have some people in the industry say that most of the streaming shows that were greenlit did not perform. They didn't make their money back.
Shocker, I tell you. If only people had said that.
If only people had said that. We actually talked a little bit about Arcane yesterday, and that was actually one of the better streaming animated series to come out, and it did not perform well. It cost $250 million. It did not make its money back. So let's talk about this. Again, these are posts from actual animators, some of them verified professionals on the animation career subreddit. Mm-hmm. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, you'll get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo!
Go out to clownfishminus.com, check out our merch, check out our Plus Club. You can also get that bonus content out on clownfishtv.locals.com. Again, check out our videos talking about the animation union strike and how they're not really getting what they wanted. And the feeling here does not seem to be very good. I mean, we're talking just a couple days ago. Some of these posts were just a couple hours ago, and I did blur out the names as best I could because I don't want to put anybody in the crosshairs.
No.
But yeah, this does not sound like things are going real well. This person, I'm quitting. I'm literally into my second year of college and I'm done. I can't handle the pressure. I can't handle knowing how unstable this industry is, how difficult it's going to be to get a job, how hard I'm going to have to work just for it to maybe not pay off. I'm changing majors. Hey,
I don't blame them. I mean, honestly, given the circumstances. Thing is, though, here's the thing. If it comes back later, you could always go back, or, some of the stuff you can teach yourself. It's funny because my degree is art education. I have a degree in art. For those who want to complain about how I don't know anything. I actually was accepted to schools that took interns for Disney. And I didn't go because it was going to be way expensive. And I thought, well, it's not worth the money. But a lot of the stuff they teach you in art school, you can learn on your own. Art school is kind of a big waste of money. They just teach you how to do things maybe faster. They might teach you some things that maybe you would learn on your own a little quicker. But honestly, at the end of the day, a lot of it by watching video tutorials, or because we didn't even have that when I was younger.
No.
And all this other stuff, you can get the same kinds of stuff you're learning there on your own, and you can work on things yourself. I'm just telling you, a lot of times, unless you're going for being a teacher or something that you really, really have to take art classes for, you don't need to take them.
Yeah, that was actually told to me early on, like right after school.
Yeah, by who?
He was the art director at Sega.
Yes.
STI, John Duggan, very nice guy. Rode a Harley, I think, had a ponytail. But I almost got a job at Sega. I think I've told people this before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was living in the Bay Area, and I was going back and forth with them for probably about 8 months.
Well, he thought you were a lot older than you were.
Yeah, he
too.
did.
And then he was like, "You're really that old? This is what you're doing?"
Yeah, he thought I was like mid to late 20s, and I don't even think I wasn't even 20. I was still a teenager. And but he told me, I talked to him, I had a conversation with him, and I remember we sat outside the Sega offices in Redwood, California, and you could see the EA building back then. They were close to each other. But yeah, he told me, because he worked for, I think, Warner Brothers, and he was talking about the animation industry, and he was just like, yeah, he's like, don't waste your money on arts, because I was going to go to the Academy of Art in San Francisco, and I actually didn't go. I was accepted. Long story. But he said, don't waste your time. He said, I'm going to tell you why, because he's like, the industry's hard. And this was back then. He's like, it's hard. And he's like, you're not really, he's like, if you can get a job without having to go, you're probably better off. And he
ironically, you beat up people with college degrees for
jobs.
Yeah,
he was
all
actually
the time.
Telling me, he said he actually had people fly in from New Jersey. They were going to the Joe Kubert School, which is the comic book college. And he said, yeah, these guys, they flew out from the Kubert School and they had their portfolio and whatever. And he's like, I just wasn't impressed. He's like, they're okay. He's like, they were all right. But he's like, God, they went and they paid how much money to go to the Kubert School for the name. And he's like, it just wasn't that good. And he's like, a lot of the guys I worked with, they started as like apprentices and whatever. He went into the whole thing. It was a very good conversation. He was a very down to earth guy. And it's probably good I didn't go there, because one, San Francisco is incredibly expensive, or even back then. And two, I think they shut STI down, which was the American Sega Technical Institute. I think they shut it down like a year or two after.
But I'm just saying, as a teacher, as somebody who's qualified to tell you these things, if you want to just have a degree in art that isn't something like art education or something where you actually have to have a certificate and a diploma for, a degree for, then you don't need to. You can do it and you'll learn things quicker. I mean, it will be faster in some ways. I want to be the type of person who pushes through out of sheer determination, becomes successful by never giving up, but I don't think I'm that person. I want financial security. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed. This is really what I wanted to do, but I'm accepting the fact that art may have to be a hobby for me. Maybe the industry will pick back up in the future and I'll rethink it all. Though I imagine it'll be harder then. Not necessarily, but I'm not going to risk my sanity and livelihood anymore. Dude, I think, or woman, dude's gender neutral to me. I'm just telling you, I don't think your attitude's wrong. I think, you're being realistic. I think it's a good thing. I like the fact that you're saying, I'm not going to give it up, but maybe I'm going to go do something that's more financially secure. What I recommend is find something that you feel more financially secure in doing, that you think is a better job. And in the meantime, like if you're saying as a hobby, train yourself, keep training, never stop training. You might end up ahead by the time it's all said and done, because you're not tied down to that degree. You're not tied down to, certain things. You might be able to actually get ahead. That is actually probably a wise thing to do. Credit to that person.
So there were some professionals that jumped in here, and I'm gonna kind of have to go backwards here to get these in order.
I didn't read this, so you'd take over.
Yeah, so this is a professional. Unsolicited advice from a 16-year animation veteran.
Okay,
I highlighted the areas that were important.
Yes, you did tell me about this.
Very interesting. The very first thing that the veteran animator tells you to do is to be agreeable.
Yes.
Be agreeable. He restates it, or she restates it multiple times. Be agreeable. Plan to be unemployed. Never stop developing your own work.
Yes.
Use reference. Never stop learning. Number one.
Yes to everything of all of these. Yes. I remember, we'll talk about the be agreeable, but I remember there's a post where someone talking about Hollywood, about actors. And you said that this happened with art too. They'd rather hire somebody who tries hard, gets along, gets stuff done, than the person who's, he might be fantastic, but it's a complete a-hole.
Yes. Be agreeable. That's over the art tips. It's be agreeable, be easy to work with. And we're going to talk about this because this kind of goes along with, the Pixar staffers. They're out there complaining to the press right now about the changes that Disney mandated that they make to the movie that they sunk hundreds of millions of dollars into.
Yeah, right.
You want to make your fanfic, your shipping fanfic. You spend your own money to do it, right? Be agreeable. Get along with people you work with because they are the key to finding your next job. Yeah, if you're a difficult, mouthy activist that nobody likes, that looks for problems, guess what? You're not going to get a phone call. And I've seen it. I've seen a lot of these people that worked on these streaming shows not getting phone calls.
Yeah, maybe best thing to do would not be to go out, put your name on things and smear former employers and their choices all over the place, especially if it's Pixar or Disney, because they're a big one and people are going to remember that and they'll be like, oh, it's not that hard.
Yep. They said you need to work together. You need to not be attacking each other.
He said it might be hard, but just, try to do, I can do it. And then go to you used to do this too. Fun story. Neon got a lot of jobs because he didn't know what the hell he was doing, but he told people he did. And he's like, yeah, I can do it. And then he went back and learned how to do it. And he did it.
Clownfish lies. No, it was called the hustle, man. When you're a freelancer and you're working with technology, and especially 20, 25 years ago, I was doing web development and a bunch of different things. And a lot of the technology was new. So they're like, can you do this? And they're waving money under your nose. I'm like, yeah, I can figure it out.
No, you just say, yeah, I can do it. And then you go back and figure it later. That's what they said. So when a director,
but I did it.
You
every
did.
Time.
You
I
did
did it every time.
So when a director gives you a note you don't necessarily agree with, or it's going to be hard, even if you have no idea what you're going to do, you write your note, smile, and say, yes, I can do it, and go back to your desk. Again, if they tell you something you don't agree with, I don't think that's right that you change this character. You know what? You still have to do it if you want a job because you work for them. It's not your character. I'm just putting that out there. Anyway, plan to be out work regularly and prepare for. I think this is Hollywood in general.
Yeah, he's basically saying this is Hollywood in general. Like you have, there's an ebb and flow to these things.
It's a gig economy.
It is. Never stop working on your own ideas and personal projects.
Yes, thank you. We've been telling you the same thing.
What?
This is what we've been telling you people.
What? It almost sounds like you're telling people to be an indie animator or something.
I know. I'm just like, I know, right? I'll work on your own things because even the bigger people said, it's harder now, but the people that are going to get ahead are the ones doing their own stuff.
Yeah. Use references. There's a weird stigma about using photo and video reference for some reason. Early Disney animators would bring actors into the studio to model for them. Sometimes with or without clothes. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
I never understood why this was such a big, why people
don't
want to use references. I never understood it.
If you're trying to capture life with lines, right, then you have to study life to understand how it works. I think people are blurring. They're like, you're just tracing. I'm like, no, that was Ralph Bakshi and rotoscoping. And even then you had to add a little flair to it. But
don't go just to copy people's work.
Right.
We're not like Liechtenstein here. But, but you're allowed to go draw using video and photos or even go sit and draw, from references. It's probably the smart thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, if you're drawing something that people are very familiar with, let's draw a building that everybody knows, right? And then but I'm going to draw it from memory. People are going to call you out for that too. They're going to be like, well, hey, I live down the street from this building and it doesn't look anything like how you drew it in Pack. Never stop learning. And
Agree. Never stop. That's what I'm telling you too.
Yeah.
You can learn on your own. Don't ever stop. Everything changes. And like in comics, for example, comic book artists that get locked into one style end up unemployed down the road because their style's dated. You need to be flexible. You need to be learning. You need to be, able to adapt. You always need to be learning. You always need to be keeping up with what's going on and doing what you can to be better and better and better.
So this is another professional that added to that in this thread. Do not chase clout. People can smell a clout chaser miles away. And they're talking about how people have had meltdowns before because their stuff didn't get used. And this is before the Pixar staffers had a meltdown. But he said, look, I get it. It sucks when your work doesn't make the final cut, but that's like the most normal thing in animation and entertainment. Things get moved around or cut all the time for many reasons. As long as you got paid and credited, it shouldn't be an issue, but also just don't chase clout. Especially in animation. I mean, some of those Disney animators got blacklisted, that caused Walt problems back in the day. It's small. You don't want to cause problems. The studio is hiring you, not your peers, right?
Oh, and make no mistake. If you get a reputation, it will come into play.
Yeah. I mean, your peers try to tank you. They try to keep you in line. But at the end of the day, the studios are the ones that decide whether or not.
And if we have heard that you're a problem, this is across the board, even for acting and stuff too, you're not going to get called.
Yep. Learn to deal with your work being cut. It's business. It's never personal. People don't understand that. People are so wrapped up in thinking that their commercial art is fine art, that the work for hire they're doing is their life's work. I don't know where this comes from, because you look at Walt's early animators, they were in it for the paycheck. I mean, they really were. A lot of them were like, they loved animation, but like, you look at the mindset back then, people that worked in comics and people that worked in animation, and they were good at what they did and they tried to do the best they could do, but they looked at it. It was a very like industrial thing. It was like, well, instead of being a plumber, I'm making cartoons. Right. And, it just the mindset wasn't like, I'm a fine artiste, and if you don't do what I want, I'm going to throw a hissy fit. And it was like, no, we're going to make the best thing we can do. We're going to try new technology, try new techniques. And it was very workmanlike. I think that the mindset, I mean, you look at like Iworks and, some of the stuff that he did at Disney, and it was very much like these guys were just like, well, they could literally work in any other industry, right? They were just like normal guys that just drew cartoons, but they could have worked, as architects, or they could have worked as, book publishers, or they could have done a number of different things.
Don Rosa worked at his family business. Was they selling concrete?
Don Rosa. Yeah. They had a building supply company.
Yeah.
Don Rosa. And he decided he wanted to draw duck comics full time. So I believe he sold the family business and he dedicated his life to doing ducks, because he was a huge fan of Carl Barks.
Also, though, if you have a chance to work with somebody who might be older, might do things a little differently, or somebody you might be like, oh, I don't want to work with that guy because he's, he's a boomer. You might learn something, They used to do something called apprenticeships, which I wish they would do again. I think that's much more, it's a much better way than what we have now. If you have the opportunity and you're around people that are older than you that you could learn from, learn. Don't think you know everything. You could always learn something. I always go to panels and stuff when we go to conventions, and a lot of times it's panels that relate to things I do now. But you can always learn something.
Yeah, it's there really is an arrogance, and that's not just animation. That's also in comic books. It's also in anybody working in the creator space or whatever. If there are younger people that if you're over the age of 25, they think you're a boomer and you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And it's very prevalent, I think, in the creative industries. But then you look at Disney, and they had to hire back all the 2D artists they shit canned because nobody at Disney knew how to draw 2D cartoons. Can you imagine telling Walt Disney that? Hey, Walt. Hey, yeah. So I know you've been asleep for a while and you're back. Let me fill you in on all the changes. So yeah, we built the Florida project. It's not exactly what you wanted, but we kind of more or less built it. We
just lost Reedy Creek, but we it's all good.
But hey, yeah, so we do cartoons, but nobody here knows how to actually do 2D animation anymore because we're using computers. And he'd be like, what the hell?
It's going to be like, what's a computer? Well, no, he probably knows what a computer is.
Computers? But, that's ridiculous. They take up a whole room.
Yeah, I know, right? What? It's like Spaceship Earth. Anyway, let's get back to the point.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, here we go. Here's somebody else chimed in talking about the consequences of the streaming bubble the last 6 years or so. Studios abandoned traditional profitable models in order to stockpile content on their streaming platforms and increase stock valuation.
And again, like I told you, when the COVID thing hit, I remember thinking it was so weird because COVID leading up into it, that they had animated stuff could be done at home. So animation still kept getting done. People worked on it at home. So that was the one thing that could still be made. So their answer was wait till COVID's over or almost over, and then green light more. And it was like, no, this isn't going to work. And it didn't.
So this is very telling. Again, this person I think posted anonymously.
Probably because, they'll dogpile you and come at you.
The streaming bubble has burst. Now we're left reckoning with the fact that nobody wanted many of these animated shows. Nobody was watching them. A lot of content was greenlit that probably shouldn't have been. The job market in animation has contracted, and many of those jobs have vanished and are not going to be replenished.
No, they're sending it overseas or to other places. Right or wrong, that's what's happening. Reality is reality, whether you like it or not.
So then they're talking about the TAG, the Animation Guild strike. Well, this person was strike imminent. This is a person who I believe is in school and was like, yeah, I'm kind of concerned about the state of the industry. This was just 18 days ago. It's like, hey, yeah, we already went on strike. We already have a deal. You know, you're out of the loop here. But they said, yeah, I wanted to know your thoughts about the state of the industry. Seems like everywhere I look, amazingly talented artists with impressive resumes are out of work. I only have about 3 years experience, but I've been out of work since September with no end in sight. I'm seeing graduates get pulled in and churned right back out again. And that's if they're lucky. Almost everyone I know is unemployed or has had an end of contract coming soon. There's virtually nothing on the horizon until summer, and that's not even guaranteed.
I don't even live in America.
Yeah.
But they do work for American companies.
Yeah. So like what is going on? Our project's not getting greenlit. And that's, they're talking about the tag. This is again, another professional. They said, what's your opinion of the AI parts of the agreement? And they go in and they start talking about the outsourcing and stuff too. They said they suck, but I don't think we're going to make any headway. The good news is I don't think AI is going to be able to do much to damage us. It's not going to damage the talented people. It's going to speed things up, and you're going to have talented people be able to do more without dead weight.
Oh, I love the part you highlighted, though.
Yes. The biggest problem with animation right now is the general state of Hollywood and entertainment and the streaming bubble pop. No tag contract will solve that. That's what the WGA members have learned.
Yes, we told you.
They got what they wanted contractually, but there's still a lack of work due to where the business is right now.
Those who got to stay got it, but a lot of people got gone. We told you this was going to happen.
Yeah. Next biggest problem is outsourcing. I wish the contract had language for it, but unfortunately, we've allowed studios to outsource since the 80s. We took it for granted that certain jobs were safe, and now they're not. California's too expensive, and you've got people there whiny little bitches. You know, they're whiny little bitches, and they're going to find a way to get rid of them. They're greenlighting shows. They aren't going anywhere. We have how are unemployed animation people paying their bills right now? Again, these are all pretty recent posts. I'm an animator that worked on some fairly large projects in the last 2.5 years. They've been released. I went to a school where I studied purely 3D art and animation. I was lucky enough to be employed or after school. I don't know what to do now. I've been on unemployment. You know, I've seen fellow unemployed animation folks talk much about what they're doing in the meantime. Basically, like, I think they said it was like 30% of animation before the strike was unemployed. Yeah.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, this is 2023. It got worse since then. Mm-hmm. My name is blank. I'm an animator, illustrator living in LA. And with the recent unemployment numbers that came out, I feel like we as artists need to discuss what it means for us and how we can support each other throughout the turmoil. So they made a video. Let me know your thoughts. Currently 30% unemployed in animation plaguing LA right now. It's actually getting worse. And I don't think it's going to get better just because they got the contract. I think everybody's going to cost more. So they're going to be like, yeah, and you know, back to the streaming, like they greenlit a bunch of shit nobody watched.
Well, this person, they're like, I hear it's improving, but me and my friends are out of work.
An hour ago.
And then they're like, well, how are you supporting yourself? You're not working. And like, I'm working for my father-in-law as a legal assistant. And my friend's becoming a cop. A ton of friends moving back to their home countries. And, you know, some people are doing commissions and stuff like that.
That was today.
Yes.
Today, after they signed the Animation Guild contract.
I don't know what else to tell you. Like, we keep telling you. And you're haters. You're wrong. You're negative. No. This is the flipping reality, okay? Reality sometimes sucks. I admit that. I don't like to, there's a lot of things happen that I would wish would be different too. But reality is reality. And sometimes it's a bummer. I don't know what to tell you, but we kept telling you guys, like, hey, this is probably what's going to happen. It's probably what's going to happen. You know, Hollywood, the actors, the writers, the animators, telling you guys.
You're just Nazis.
You're just clowns. Negative. You just want everything to fail. It's like, no, we don't. We're
boomers.
We've been doing this for years.
Tell you what the hell. It's just
we can see it coming.
Just because it's animation doesn't mean it's any different than any other part of the entertainment.
Well, even then we still have connections to it.
Yeah.
We can see it coming, and we're literally trying to help you. To tell you, like, look, and you know, the people are being smart. I know. People are being smart, and the fact that they have other things they can do. And you know what? It might come back that you might be able to get back in. And that's great. But it's always going to be a gig. It's always going to be, you know, employment to employment. If you're fine with that, great. Keep that in mind. But if you don't want that, if you want stability, if you don't want that, there is nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'd rather go do something else that pays, that I know I have security, that I know I have a job. And then as a hobby or on my own time, I will keep learning and doing better. Maybe I could do my own thing. Maybe I could build up an audience and do something of my own that I can monetize or get big on or sell to a studio. Or maybe I could keep learning and keep up with it. So later, when everything's more secure, if it comes back to that, I can get that, or I can start my own studio or something. I can save money to start my own studio. Those are all valid.
Yeah.
But this keeping the blindfold on, fingers in your ear going, la, 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 Clownfish, fuck you, you're so stupid, isn't solving anything for you.
How's that working out for you?
Make another damn video complaining about it. How's that working for you?
Put the fries in the bag.
The most views you get. I'm not trying to be a bitch, but I'm so tired of it. And I'm like, we're literally like, mom and dad trying to help you. And we're not telling you don't be an artist, even though right now I don't know if it's a good idea.
I think the biggest mistake you can make to somebody, and I know Doug TenNapel, I think, retweeted one of those, and because he worked in the industry for years, and he was like,
he did it because he's negative.
He's negative. I don't like how he votes. So one of the biggest mistakes you can make to somebody is to paint a picture of working in the creative industry as this, brilliant, like amazing, like, oh my God, guys, it's so great. You just like wake up every day and you can just do whatever the hell you want and you get paid for it. And you could just work for like 2 hours a day and you just get paid like millions of dollars. It's so fantastic. All you got to learn to do is draw your OCs. Just draw your OCs all day and get paid a ridiculous amount of money for it.
Do we mention crunch, and how much time you have to work and how little pay you get?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's a reality. Everyone wants to do it, but they don't want to. They don't want to hear what it's really like.
Be a dentist. Seriously, that is the best advice I can give you. Do you know I worked for a dental marketing firm for a while? Do you know they work like 32 hours a week and they get paid ridiculous money? That's why they got all this money and they're golfing and stuff all the time. Just be a dentist. Son, be a dentist. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's gonna be a lot easier.
I'm just like, there are so many things you could do, and I get wanting to be an animator. I wanted to be an animator. I get it. People really get it.
People like the idea of being an animator. People like the idea of making comic books. People like the idea of being a full-time artist because it just sounds so fantastic and so whatever. And that the reality is usually very, very different. And
that's for any job, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you do get people that do break out, that do become successful, they become multimillionaires, they got their own whatever.
Yeah, but that's like what percentage? That is such a tiny percent. It's not what likely is going to happen. It's like all these kids want to be influencers, and it's like, yes, but eventually it's not, there's so many people doing it that you're not going to be able to get anywhere. It's like webcomics was like that. When we started back in the day, there was still a lot, but it wasn't,
wasn't completely saturated.
Yes, and now it's so saturated. Good luck getting found.
Well, there was a barrier to entry back then too, because when we were doing webcomics, you had to know how to run your own website. And
I still recommend that you know how to do these things, because if it all goes down and Tapas or Webtoons decides tomorrow to pull, you're going to need to be able to do that.
And that's what happened. Basically, they came along, they became the solution. So the barrier to entry was non-existent. Anybody could upload their comics to these platforms, but then the flip side is anybody can upload their comics to these platforms. And now you're competing with like hundreds of thousands of people you have to compete with.
Mm-hmm. But it is what it is. And the same with animators. Everybody wants to be an animator, and these colleges paint you a rosy picture because they want you in there and they want you in debt, and they're charging way too much.
Oh, scads.
For what? That's one example.
They've been called out multiple times by a lot of people.
If you were thinking about going for art, don't go to these expensive places. You don't need to.
No.
Do what you want to do. Do your research. Don't listen to me. I'm going to tell you right now, don't listen just to me. Do your research. But I'm just telling you, you're going to be wasting a lot of money. But anyway, we're going to wrap this up because this video went really long.
Yeah, it did. So please subscribe. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.